Good morning. It is 25 past 3, and just a very, very, very quick update on how the build's going. There are one or two new additions. Um, let's break them down. So the first new addition is the image. Now, the image, for all intents and purposes, is kind of done. There are just a few little things I have to add. The last video that I put up, which I'm going to put a link to there, I was using the PlayStation Legacy SD card because the image that I had for the Sega MegaPive, which is the name I'm going with, by the way, it's dumb enough that I can appreciate it. The image for the Sega MegaPive just had the ROMs on it, and that was it. And I think it had an intro. So what I've done is all the ROMs are on there. They've all got box art. They've all got, well, I say they've all got box art. There are about a dozen Sega CD games. The scraper I'm using has some kind of like vision problem with Sega CD games. So there's like a dozen that need doing. So I've got to add those manually with the same scraper. The scraper that I'm using is by a guy called Mulyord. It's called Skyscraper. It's really, really good. Very, very highly recommended. But you can also manually add box art. So I'm doing that. So every game on there at the moment for the Game Gear, the Master System, the Megadrive, and the CD30, and the 32X all have box art. They're all they've all got box art. They've all got screenshots, and they've all got a marquee at the top. I also had to go through all of the ROMs, and there's a lot of ROMs on there. I had to go through all of them to get rid of all like the compilations and the like Brazilian games, and even though the Mahjong games are on there, some of them I'm never going to play that. So for all intents and purposes, we've got every Mega Drive game ever released, bar the compilations, because basically Sega, at the end of the Mega Drive's life cycle, the Sega must have had a ton of cartridges and PCBs left over. So what they were doing was just like throw in, it was always the same games as well. It was all like Golden Axe, Sonic 1, Columns, and Super Hang-On, stuff like that. They used to put them into a collection, and they were either called the Six Pack for America, or in the PAL regions, it was called Mega Games, and they knocked out like 7 or 8 of those compilations. So I got rid of all of those because I don't need compilations of games that are already on the system. So for all intents and purposes, every Sega Mega Drive game, every Game Gear game, every Master System game, every 32X game, and every Sega CD game ever released is on there. So to get all the box art and, you know, the screenshots and everything configured has taken a while, but it's done. Bar those like dozen or so Sega CD games, which I still need to work on. So that's done. Also, the buttons. Now, where before I was using the PlayStation Legacy SD card, now the buttons for the Sega MegaPive, the on and off button, all the code works, that's up and running. The drive light, that's also running, A-OK, no problems. And the reset button, also working, A-OK, no problems. So all of the hardware is set. The one thing I've got left to do, as far as the image goes, and other than scraping for that box art, the one thing I've got left to do is the screensaver, and that's what I'm really sort of not looking forward to. Basically, when you left the PlayStation Legacy for, I think it was like 5 minutes, it cycled 90s PlayStation ads, like the Crash Bandicoot ad, the You Are Not Ready ad, and the Double Life ad. Really, really, really classic adverts. And what I want to do is the same thing for the Sega MegaPive. So when you leave it for 5 minutes, it starts to roll the UK Mega Drive ads, like the Barber ads, like the Gimme the Works ads, the Cyber Razor Cut, like that stuff. Really, really cool ads, and I want to do that. So I'm getting all the MP4s together. I'm going to cut it up into a nice little MP4 file and then sort that out. So that's done. The hardware I'm not going to touch. I have actually made one little addition to the hardware, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And what I want to do is then quickly run next door and show you basically the final image. The one thing I want to point out is that I found a theme that I really, really liked. And I can't remember who made it, so sorry to whoever made it. But it was a really, really cool theme based on the menu system for the Megadrive collection, which was on the, I think, the PS2, PS3, 360, and PSP, which is the one I played a lot. And the menu system for that was really, really cool. And I think what this guy or girl, whoever made it, what this person's done is taken like inspiration from that. It's got the sound effects from it, and it had a really cool background and a really cool foreground. I really liked the idea, but I didn't like the way that they had laid it out. So what I did was I took the assets, threw them into paint.net, and then photoshopped, but you know what I mean, like took out and plastered over some of it. So I took out the bar at the bottom, which I didn't like. Again, this was in the last video, but I took out the bar at the bottom I didn't like. And also when you scrape for image, it put it up in the top right-hand corner, which is fine if you're on PC, but I'm not, I'm on my TV. So when I scrape for box art and I'm sitting on my sofa, which is a good 6 feet away, I can't see the box art. So I looked into it and I was like, well, maybe I'll just make my own theme. Like, how hard can it be? Turns out it's really hard. There's no editors, there's nothing. And every time I looked up, like I wanted to move the box art across, make it bigger, I wanted to move the description down and all of this. Like the paint.net stuff and the photoshopping stuff, I'm kind of okay at that. I can do that. And I did. I edited a lot of the layout. But every time I looked up a tutorial online or a wiki or even a YouTube video, every single one said, just open up the XML file, change some of the numbers and see what happens. Like that was it. That was their advice. So a couple of hours into that, I've actually got what I needed to do. So I've moved the box art into the middle of the menu system, or the middle of the gap, made it super big, moved all the text down like bit by bit, and then moved the description down, and now the box has gone. Basically, it looks a lot better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this video. I'm going to show you very, very, very quickly the little piece of, the little sort of token piece of hardware that I've made. It's more of a fun thing than an actual. Well, no, it is functional, but it's more of a fun thing. And then what I'm going to do is take the unit next door and very, very, very quickly just show you the work on the theme and kind of the finished image. My next video will be it done. Like, I can't imagine there be any more stages, but, you know, never say never. But hopefully my last video, the thing will be finished and good to go. All right, cool. Let's have a quick look at this thing. So again, super duper quickly, here it is, just like it was the other day, but with one new addition, this cable coming down here. So to bring you up to speed, what I did was I drilled out these two holes here. Now the Raspberry Pi itself has 4 Type A USBs on the board, and what I did was I desoldered those and soldered 2 micro USBs basically into the board. The problem with that is, when I want to use a keyboard or when I want to use any other Type A USB, there's nowhere to plug it in, so you have to find an adapter. So I thought, well, why not use the little controller that came with the Retro Electro, which is right there. Why not use that? So similar to the way the Native Americans used every part of the bison, or every part of the animal, I literally put a Type A female USB into the little pad, and out the top where the controller would come out, put the little adapter. So now if I want to use a USB keyboard, or I want to use any other controller, if you want to use a SNES controller, you can. Anything wired, anything into USB, it works in either slot 1 or slot 2. So you can do that. Literally took 5 minutes, but it just looks nicer, and I get to use the little controller that came with it for something functional. So yeah, alright, let's have a quick look next door and see how it looks. Okay, and here we are. We have the Sega MegaPive SD card snuggled nicely under Sonic the Hedgehog. We've got this in, even though we don't have a USB keyboard plugged in at the moment. Let's switch it on. Okay, drive lights on. As you can see, we're just going into our little boot up sequence here. There we go. So that's just like the little tiny little MP4 that I made very, very, very quickly. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it yet. I kind of like it. I like the static fuzz and whatnot that's, you know, on that as well. So when we get in, oh, by the way, I'm using my Sega Saturn modified pad, which goes around 3 meters and into the front here. So we're loading into Emulation Station, and again, very quickly, this was the theme that I had before, and I downloaded and I liked. Now, when you start up the machine, it instantly goes into Megadrive. And again, all of the box, so you have Boxart here, screenshot, and then the marquee up here. So you just go down, and it's all there, and it's all good. So what I didn't like was before there was this big sort of like black, this whole Megadrive sort of motif came across and then this way. And the only thing that was on there was like the function buttons for the menu, which I always turn off anyway because I don't like them. So what I did was, and again, the box art was up in this corner and it was really small, and this was quite big and it was up here. So this was like 2 times bigger than the box art itself, which was like all cramped. So what I did was I took these assets into Paint.net and then photoshopped out that whole bar down the bottom and just extended this, and then inside that I also took the description, moved that down to here so it scrolls nicely, moved that down to the center, and moved this into the more central so it's nice in a column. So you've got a column here and a column here. It's just nice, symmetrical, and you can see all the box art while you sit on your sofa a mile away. If you press the back button, it says on this cartridge now, it used to say Sega Genesis, but now it says Sega MegaPive. And then as you scroll down to the system you want, you have all the Sega CD stuff, all the SG-1000 stuff, Sega Game Gear, Sega Master System, and then back to the Mega Drive. So again, if you go into, let's say, the CD32X, there it is, all the box art is there, and all the games are there. So, I mean, that works for pretty much everything. The SG-1000, like the Game Gear, again, all here, all got the box art, and all, all together, a much cleaner, much nicer layout than the one before. No, I mean, like, no disrespect to the one that was on there before. It wasn't quite for me. I wanted it nice and symmetrical, and I mean, obviously I'll put my name on there as well, but that's just because I've got an ego problem. But I didn't like that big black bar across there, and I wanted everything, like I wanted the image to be big. This, I don't really need to see it, so I kind of squished it over here. Again, it's all just like mucking around with numbers, but like I say, I'm happy with the way it is now, and there are so many games on here. I'm really looking forward to playing. So let's have a quick look at Alien Soldier. I'm just going to quickly start the game. Okay, and we're in. All the function buttons are still mapped to the controller, so we've got volume, start, pause, fast forward, rewind, quick save, quick load, mute, volume up, volume down, all of that stuff is still linked to the function buttons on the 6-button controller. So let's have a quick look at the function buttons down here. So with my big clunky hands, I'm going to gently press the rubber reset button, and we're going to go back into Emulation Station. A-OK, lovely. And then what I'm going to do, again with my big clunky fingers, is just press the button to the off position and save shutdown script, which is again, the same script that I use for all of my other Raspberry Pi builds. Save shutdown script, and then it will just turn itself off, which you can see, drive light flashing away, and it's just right in there and off. So yeah, overly, I'm super happy with the way it's worked out, and with any luck, the next video that I put up, or the next progress report essentially on this build, will be the final one. I'll have the screensaver up, and it'll be all those cool 90s retro ads with the barber and the cyber razor cut, all the really cool UK Mega Drive ads, and yeah, that'll be it, and it'll be finished, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll throw the image up. So if you feel like building something like this yourself, you can build this, and the image, you will have to do none of the image yourself. I'll throw it up on my OneDrive, public OneDrive. You can download it to your heart's content and throw it up on there, and it should just all work. Okay, so cool. Hopefully the next one will be the end. See you later. Peace.